All right, let's get right into it. Today, we are talking about how reality itself can be manufactured. And our story really kicks off with two little words that you could argue completely changed the game in modern politics.
Right there, January 22nd, 2017. That sentence, on national TV, that was the moment a line was drawn in the sand. It wasn't just a pushback on a statement. It was a direct challenge to a whole new kind of political language, one that seemed to be playing by a totally different set of rules.
And you know what's wild? It all started with this, a fight over crowd sizes. Something that seems so simple, so easy to prove. So how on earth do you defend a claim that's just demonstrably false? Well, you don't. Instead, you just reframe it. You call it an alternative version of the truth. And I mean, look at the numbers. They're just so clear. The White House claimed over 400,000 people used the metro, but the official transit authority numbers, under 200,000 for that same time frame. That's not a little mistake, right? That's a whole different reality. And that huge, obvious gap, well, that's what set the stage for the strategies that came next. So how did we even get here? Well, this wasn't just some one-off slip of a tongue. Nope. It was actually part of a much bigger communication strategy, one that has its own set of very specific tactics. Let's break down the playbook. So, decades before we ever heard the phrase alternative facts, the groundwork was already being laid. Right here in The Art of the Deal, this idea of truthful hyperbole was introduced. It basically suggests that, hey, exaggerating to sell a story isn't just okay, it's actually a really effective way to promote something.
Now, this is crucial for understanding the whole playbook. Philosophers make this really key distinction. See, a liar actually cares about the truth, even if they're just trying to hide it. They know there's a shared reality they're trying to bend. But the bullshitter, they have a complete and total disregard for whether something is true or false. To them, reality is, well, it's irrelevant. And that leads us to this technique. It's called the fire hose of falsehood. One strategist famously, and pretty bluntly, described the tactic as a way to flood the zone with shit. The whole point isn't to be convincing, it's to be completely and utterly overwhelming. So here's how it works, step by step. First, you just flood the zone with so many different claims that people can't even focus on one controversy. Then, you repeat the falsehoods over and over and over, because our brains have this funny quirk where if we hear something enough, it starts to feel true, even if we know it's not. And finally, if someone calls you out with actual evidence, you just deny, deflect, and attack them. It's not about winning the argument. It's about making the simple act of finding the truth feel absolutely exhausting. So fast forward to 2025, and something really fascinating started to happen. The whole strategy kind of evolved. Instead of constantly inventing new falsehoods, it shifted to just recycling a core set of the old ones. Think of it like a greatest hits album, just on an endless loop. Yeah, an analysis from CNN actually found that the variety of lies shrank, like dramatically. So why? Well, it suggests the goal wasn't really about persuading new people anymore, but more about just reinforcing what the base already believes. It became all about quantity, not creativity, repetition over innovation. So let's look at a few of the biggest hits from this playlist of falsehoods. Okay, first up, the big one. The signature claim of bringing in $17 to $18 trillion in investment to the US. This number was, well, it was completely made up. But it was said so often, with such confidence, that for a lot of people, it just became a fact. Then you've got this one, the claim of ending 8 different wars. When you actually looked at the list, it was pretty bizarre. It included conflicts between countries that were never even at war, some mystery conflict that wasn't an active war, and at least one war that, well, it hadn't actually ended. And then, maybe the most blatant example of them all, a completely invented quote of praise supposedly from the governor of Maryland. And this one was actually proven to be false by video footage of the real conversation, which was, much shorter and way more professional. So here's the bottom line. The deception didn't stop, it just got lazier. I mean, you can see it right here in this chart. The variety of lies just plummets. The strategy basically settled into this predictable, much smaller rotation of about 24 core lies, just repeated ad nauseum. Okay, so this whole strategy of manufacturing a narrative, it brings up a huge question. What are the limits of this stuff? And what happens when you have the kind of resources to build a reality not just with words, but with, bricks and mortar? You know, this urge to create a world where your story is the only one that counts, it's not just a political thing. When you have truly immense wealth, you can take that idea a giant leap further. You can literally build your own reality. And for that, we have to look at Eustasia Island. Now, this has nothing to do with politics, but it might be the ultimate expression of creating an alternate reality. It is a completely custom-made world built from the ground up for one of the richest people on Earth. I mean, just think about this. It's a self-contained eco-luxury universe. It's totally off-grid, running on solar power, gets its water from collected rainfall. It has its own private beaches, its own villas, and was even rumored to be this secret testing spot for a flying car project. It's a physical alternative fact, a place where the rules and the problems of the outside world just don't really apply.
But here's the thing. These manufactured realities, whether they're built with words or with incredible wealth, they eventually have to face some scrutiny from the very world they're trying to escape.
Because at the end of the day, reality does have a way of pushing back. It doesn't matter how many times you repeat a lie or how high you build the walls around your private island, there's always a counterforce, people trying to establish accountability and uncover the truth. A perfect example happening right now is the congressional inquiry into the billionaire Les Wexner and his decades-long relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. After thousands of files were released, Congress straight up issued a subpoena for him to testify. This is a formal, official attempt to break through a wall of secrecy and wealth to figure out what really happened.
And that kind of leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? Whether it's through a fire hose of falsehoods or an off-the-grid private island, the power to manufacture your own personal reality is growing. And the real fight isn't just about calling out individual lies or gawking at exclusive retreats. It's about preserving that shared common ground, that objective reality that we all need to be able to stand on together.